Everybody, I'm at the end stages here with the Night King, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to give you a small tutorial on how to fix cracks when they form. Whenever you're working with an air drying clay, which I'm using, it's a brand called NuClay, and they have two types. There's the NuClay, which is this one here, which is they're all nylon reinforced, but this one has a bit of bulking agent, like a grit to it, and that's why he's two different colors. So I use this first, and it's a bit cheaper, less expensive, and so you can kind of build up with that, and then I move over to using this, and this is the first time I use this for the details of the sculpt. It's called Claydium. It's made by the same company. Let me get the name there. Claydium. Yeah. And it's much smoother. It's basically slip with nylon fiber, and that prevents it from being too brittle, like a lot of air drying clays tend to be without it. So that's why they have to kiln fire, but these don't require kiln firing. So that's great, but when they do dry, they tend to shrink a bit, and then cracks form, and you have to go through the process of repairing them. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do that. So let me see. One of the cool things about this piece is that because he's the Night King and they're from the lands of always winter, they're basically ice demons. I mean, imagine people follow the show that are watching this, but they're a kind of ice demon sort of mythological character that, you know, they reanimate the dead and so on. But if you look at the character, which I try to reproduce faithfully here, was they have cracks all over their head, or over his head. Some of the other White Walkers, they have, you know, hair and you can't really see so well, but around his crown of thorns, this is supposed to be kind of an imitation of a crown. These are all like icicles coming out of his head. But the character itself has cracks all over his head to kind of mimic this icy look of just maybe fracturing glacial or lake, like a lake surface that's breaking, the ice breaking up. So that was good because when he did eventually crack anyway, it kind of looked like it was supposed to belong there. So there's some of these that actually I think make it look a little bit more authentic, and that's fine. I might even just leave a few. But I do want to fix a couple. So this is the opportunity to show you guys how you can do that. So let me zoom in here and give you a shot of what I'm going to do. It's pretty simple. Now you can see here I etched in most of these cracks on purpose because that's how it's supposed to be. But there is one, a rather large one, that formed along his temporal bone, and you probably couldn't tell, but I already fixed part of it, and I thought, you know, I'll go ahead and film the rest of the repair just to give you guys a quick shot of it. Actually, it looks pretty good even. I might not want to take it off, but I think what I'll do is I'll fix the big fissure, which is in between, and I might leave these other two because I think they actually look kind of nice. So basically what you do is I'm getting the Claydium out. And the Claydium, you need, you know, it's very smooth. It's fantastic to work with. I wish I used this to help make darkness, because he's all 100% NuClay, and that's gritty, and it did sacrifice some surface detail, which I would have liked to have been able to put in. So you live, you learn. But yeah, it's very smooth, and when you get to where you want to fix a crack like this, you basically have to just get some very wet clay and, you know, stick it on your finger and then just push it down into the crack. Now this guy's pretty well dry already, and that actually helps. So you do this, and, you know, and yeah, it might roughen the surface a little bit. And you can get a tool, like this is a silicone rubber tipped tool that's shaped a little bit like a spatula. And I can take that, or whatever tool that you want to use, and just kind of, you know, rub over it. And this should help push the bead of clay deeper down into that fissure that you want to fix. And then you can take maybe a little more if you want, if you're not satisfied with how well that's going. Just want to be careful though, because I don't want to, you know, put too much and have it go into the cracks I actually want to be there, because it's the detail you want in this character. So I've done and pushed that down in there as best I can. And if you do overdo it, you can just take this in. So because it's already so dry, there's a lot of osmotic pressure. This clay just wants to absorb water readily. So because I put the wet clay on it, the dry clay underneath is going to just suck the moisture right out of it. So just in a few seconds, it's already a lot drier. And then you can just take a wire tip like this and just kind of scrape off what you don't want. And that fissure should just stay filled. And this, you might have to do this a couple times because it'll dry again, and then the crack will become more like a hairline fracture, and then you can fill it again and again. Sometimes they're really stubborn, and you might have to get something like there's these other types of crack sealers that you get. Like I know that Sculpey sells one, but they're basically a plastic putty, and you can use one of those too if it's really stubborn. Because I had to do that on Darkness. Because there was one along his shoulder and along his head that just kept reopening. And I was at the painting stage, and that was very precarious, but I managed to sort it out. But yeah, I think with this should be fine. So now that was a natural crack that formed, and it came up along here. But I just filled that in. And I'll leave this side because I think that looks kind of neat, actually. And looks like it's supposed to be there. So yeah. That's pretty much it. And this guy will dry for another, I don't know, maybe a few hours even. Fixing these cracks doesn't really add to the drying time. That's another advantage. Because it does just pulls the moisture out of it. Whatever clay you added, it doesn't really take, it's not going to take anywhere nearly as long for those spots to dry up as did the whole piece. So yeah, I could possibly paint him this evening, and I'm pretty excited to do it. But I believe I'll be putting this post up after the full reveal, just because I don't want to, break the surprise. So, okay, guys. Hope that was helpful, and I'll see you later.